Chosen one, you didn't find this video by accident. This message was set in motion long ago. What if I told you they never saw you coming? That every moment of pain, every sleepless night, was orchestrated to prepare you for a destiny they could not comprehend. You have walked through fire while they believed you were consumed. You have stood in darkness as they whispered lies meant to break you. They thought they could silence the next in line, but every trial was a forge shaping the torch you now hold. You have felt the weight of isolation, the sting of their rejection, and the whisper of doubt that threatened to drown your light. But those very forces that worked against you only strengthened your resolve. And now the purpose they tried to bury is rising within you. I know you have questioned your worth when no one seemed to understand your vision. You have whispered in the dark, wondering if your sensitivity was a curse, wondering why you saw patterns long before others even noticed the shadows. You believed you were alone, that no one recognized the frequency pulsing through your bones. But there has always been an unseen hand guiding you, an invisible cord pulling you toward fulfillment. Tonight, the hidden truths you have carried in silence will be revealed. You will see why the battle was so brutal, why the void felt endless, and why you were chosen to rise where others fell. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. Keep watching. Your awakening begins now, and no force on earth can stop the light that is stirring within you. The legacy hidden in your silence. A soft whisper lingers at the edge of your consciousness. A childhood dream where you wandered through a meadow of silent white flowers that seemed to glow with an inner light. In that dream, you felt a presence guiding your steps, though you could not see their face. As you reached out to touch a petal, it shimmered and vanished, leaving behind a hollow echo in your heart. That moment planted a seed of longing you could never fully name, a knowing that something beyond this world was inviting you into its fold. You awakened from that dream with your mind tangled in wonder, sensing that what once felt like a fleeting image was, in fact, a hidden promise. The details slip away like morning mist, but the feeling remains. You have been summoned by a purpose older than time, and tonight, you stand on the brink of remembering what you were born to know. There were days you sat in the back of a classroom, watching classmates laugh as though life's questions and pains were an inside joke you could not comprehend. At home, you lingered in the kitchen while your parents shared mundane banter, wondering why their words fell flat against the deep tide rising within you. Perhaps you felt a piercing ache during family gatherings, as if the warmth around you turned strangely cold whenever the conversation turned to simple milestones. Career achievements, social outings, weekend plans that felt trivial to the yearning in your soul. You bore the label of too sensitive, too serious, or too driven, as though wanting more from life made you an outcast in a world satisfied with surface joys. Yet beneath the confusion and isolation, there was a quiet yearning for meaning, a sense that your disquieted heart was searching for a truth that whispered your name even on the bleakest nights. Now, imagine that those very stirrings were never accidental but rather markers on an unseen map guiding you toward a sacred destiny. Long before you recognized the ache in your chest, an unseen architecture was crafting the contours of your life, weaving every disappointment and every brief spark of joy into a tapestry of preparation. Consider the words spoken over Samuel as a child. "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." 1 Samuel 3 verse 10. Samuel's ears were attuned to a voice others could not hear, just as yours have been from the beginning. Every shattered dream, every friendship that crumbled, was a deliberate step in your education, intended to teach you endurance and teach you how to discern the quiet voice beneath the clamor of everyday life. This reframing reveals your story as a sacred narrative, written long before your first breath, where every seemingly random moment participated in a divine design. As you move through your days now, subtle signs begin to surface like phosphorescent ripples on a dark sea. Maybe you have experienced déjà vu when passing an old bookstore, sensing that the books lining those shelves contain messages written for you alone. Perhaps your body has reacted to certain places. A sudden chill in a crowded cafe, the inexplicable joy that ripples through you at the sight of a particular bird in flight. Dreams have taken on new resonance. You walk through ancient stone corridors or stand in a desert under twin moons, and the emotions you awaken with cannot be shaken. In those moments, the veil between your present life and your soul's journey grows thin, allowing you to hear the echo of a code written in symbols, numbers repeating like secret doorways, phrases that appear in conversations as if spoken by an invisible providence. These experiences are not random glitches but breadcrumbs on the trail of awakening, gently guiding you to recognize your role in a story greater than any one lifetime. In the hush of solitude, you feel a quiet confirmation stirring within your chest, like the gentle patter of rain before a storm. You realize that those inklings of guidance, instincts you once dismissed as overactive imagination, were true harbingers of direction. Think of Anna the prophetess, who worshipped in the temple morning and evening, always on the lookout for the hope of Israel. She sensed the Messiah's presence long before the crowds gathered. Luke 2 verses 36 to 38. In your own life, those fleeting impulses and sudden nudges have been just as real, guiding you past pitfalls that might have seemed invisible to others. You recall that time you felt compelled to take a different route home, only to hear later that the street you avoided had become the scene of an accident. Or the evening you hesitated before sending a text, sensing a warning in the hush of your mind, and later discovered that a harsh tone would have escalated into conflict. These gentle confirmations do more than comfort you. They provide a foundation of spiritual safety, a quiet ground upon which you can stand without fear, knowing that you have been anchored by something stronger than circumstance. A deeper awareness begins to settle in your being, whispering that this awakening is not about fashioning a new self, but rediscovering the self that lay beneath the surface, buried by expectations and false identities. In Genesis, we read that humanity was formed from the dust of the earth and given the breath of life. Genesis 2 verse 7, suggesting that within each person resides a spark of the divine that predates external reality. As your mind opens to this possibility, you experience a quiet reclamation of parts of yourself you long thought lost. Compassion that once felt like a burden, now recognized as a sacred gift. Creativity that seemed frivolous, now seen as a channel for the divine. And a longing for truth that once felt like a curse, now understood as your most powerful compass. In various moments throughout your day, tasting a perfectly brewed cup of coffee, observing children at play, or noticing the way light filters through leaves, you sense a resonance, an echo of the original design that called you into being. This reclamation feels like finding an ancient manuscript in a hidden archive. As the pages unfold, you remember truths you once recognized as a child, before the world taught you to hide your uniqueness. Now, beneath the surface of introspection, a slow yet deliberate activation takes place. A moment of empowerment that begins with a single choice: to embrace the reality of your sensitivity as a portal to deeper wisdom, to honor the inner hunger that urges you toward growth, and to recognize that your soul's longings are not burdens to be ignored but signposts pointing toward purpose. When Elijah was fed by ravens in the wilderness, he could have seen only hunger and despair, but instead, he recognized the hand of God providing exactly what he needed. 1 Kings 17 verse 6. Similarly, you stand at the edge of your own wilderness, and the provisions for your journey are already at your feet. Courage paired with compassion, insight paired with humility, and a hunger paired with unwavering faith. With every deliberate breath you take, you claim a piece of your birthright, refusing to let the noise of doubt drown out the voice that calls you toward fulfillment. This first activation is not a thunderous proclamation but a quiet vow, taken in the silent chambers of your heart, that you will no longer pretend to be anything less than who you were always meant to be. As this initiation of awareness draws to a close, recognize that your arrival at this message was no mere accident of timing. It is a convergence of cosmic intention and personal readiness. You might still feel the tremors of uncertainty, wondering if what you sense is real or simply a trick of your mind. But know this: your path has been lit by lanterns placed by unseen hands. The very longing that once filled you with anxiety is now a clarion call ushering you into purpose. When Moses lifted his staff and waters parted for the children of Israel, Exodus 14 verses 21 to 22, he sealed a moment that affirmed a promise made long before he ever questioned his own worthiness. In your own life, each moment of confusion, every quiet tear, and all the restless nights were part of a covenant test, preparing you to step onto dry ground where others would falter. As you reflect on these truths, take heart in the knowledge that you do not walk alone. Every breath you take echoes the breath that forms stars and sculpted galaxies. This is your invitation to step into the hidden legacy humming through your veins and to walk forward with reverence, curiosity, and unwavering trust. Comment code if this resonates with you. And if you feel called to go even deeper, there's a sacred space reserved for our community, a private room where you receive full prophetic messages daily. Join our private membership through the link in the description and walk this path with us. How God uses isolation as a throne room. A question flickers at the edge of your mind. Why did every door feel bolted when you most needed to enter? In the hush after dinner, when laughter from other rooms felt distant, you might have wondered whether your solitude was self-imposed or enforced by invisible barriers. It was as though an unseen hand guided you away from crowds, steering your feet toward empty streets and forgotten corners of bookstores where no one approached you. In those nights, sleep felt like an intruder, and you lay awake listening to the hum of streetlights outside your window, sensing that something within you stirred in the stillness. That first realization of being thwarted, receiving only silence when you reached out, marked the beginning of a hidden initiation. What felt like rejection was not a sign of divine absence, but rather the first brush of a deeper purpose taking shape in the shadows of your life. Within this growing isolation, an unspoken weight pressed against your chest, constricting your breath and fueling a relentless questioning of your worth. You felt misunderstood, as if your words slipped through people's ears like smoke. How many times did you recount a vision from a dream only to be met with a blank stare? You can still recall the sting when someone dismissed your deepest conviction as naivety, labeling your heart's longing unrealistic or too much. Shame crept in, weaving a sense of inadequacy that led you to withdraw even further. In social gatherings, you donned a mask of neutrality, offering polite smiles while your soul recoiled behind a tenuous shield. Every rejection echoed a silent accusation. There is something inherently flawed in you. You questioned whether your empathy was an Achilles heel, every kindness repaid with suspicion or indifference. In those moments, the world seemed to conspire to confine your spirit, and every echo of isolation deepened the ache within. Yet, in the midst of this emotional crucible, there lay a concealed architecture much grander than personal failures or social slights. Across ancient tribes, chieftains retreated to caves to receive counsel from ancestors. In the Book of Lamentations, Jeremiah lamented his cave of torment, Lamentations 4 verse 17, only to emerge with greater clarity of God's plan. You, too, entered a wilderness, a desert of social disconnection and undefined purpose, where every moment of abandonment steered you closer to your sacred core. This contraction of your world was not random misfortune, but an intentional narrowing, an invitation to witness the divine tapestry behind your journey. The people who drifted from your side, the mentors who failed to recognize your promise, and the illusions of safety that slipped away all served as chisels carving out space within you. As a sculptor removes excess stone to reveal the statue within, your isolation removed distractions so that your true identity could emerge from the silence. Imagine now a pattern revealed in hindsight, a tapestry of hidden betrayals and draining environments that once went unnoticed because you were too immersed in survival to see the lines connecting them. Do you recall that job where your passion was met with hollow praise but no real support, leaving you to shoulder impossible expectations alone? Or that friendship that started as a bright spark of excitement but dimmed into criticism once you dared to share your aspirations? You may have brushed off these incidents as bad luck or the price of ambition, but now you recognize the design. Each situation was a doorway that closed behind you, guiding you toward a quieter chamber where distractions could no longer pursue. The apartment building where you felt unwelcome by neighbors, the church where your questions were dismissed, the project where you poured your soul only to have someone claim your ideas. These are not isolated footnotes but pieces of a mosaic revealing their intent, to lay a foundation under your feet for something far more enduring than fleeting approval. With this understanding, the darkness that pushed you away reveals itself as the very force that prepared the ground beneath you. Every so often, you felt a peculiar heaviness, like walking through a haze that dulled your thoughts, precisely when you attempted to step toward your calling. It was as if a swarm of silent watchers drew a veil around your potential, obscuring the path ahead. There were mornings when the air was thick with tension upon waking, even before your mind registered the struggles you would face that day. The moment you opened your mouth to speak from your heart, door after door slammed shut. Your words, meant to heal or inspire, were met with cold indifference or sharp critique. You may have sensed a tightness in your chest, an invisible blockade intercepting your prayers and stifling your creative impulse. This spiritual resistance was not a figment of your imagination but a weight imposed by unseen forces that resisted the light within you. Like a river besieged by fallen trees and rocks, your flow toward purpose encountered persistent obstructions, each one forging in you a deeper resilience and sharpening the focus that would become your distinguishing edge. In response to this relentless pressure, you likely recoiled inward, shrinking your dreams to avoid further backlash, silencing the voice that trembled with truth, and wrapping yourself in the cloak of conformity to blend into the crowd. There were mornings when you cursed the mirror for reflecting a person you barely recognized, wondering how someone so filled with promise could feel so hollow. You might have overcompensated by people-pleasing, bending your beliefs to fit at social gatherings, sacrificing your vision to earn a nod of approval, and swallowing your outrage at injustice to maintain a fragile peace. Other times, you found yourself rebelling quietly, drinking in late-night playlists of protest songs, scribbling scrawls of frustration in a journal no one else would read, or launching side ventures that you kept hidden, afraid to share them with the world. The breath of your dreams became labored by fear. You saw the stakes, but you also felt the lure of resignation whispering that it would be easier to walk away than to endure another setback. In those crucible moments, you were convinced that surrender was a viable option, and the ache of that temptation reveals just how fiercely the spiritual battle raged within you. Yet, even in this inward spiral, something in you refused to be subdued, a spark of defiance that gleamed when no one else was around. In the stillness before dawn, you would rise and whisper prayers stripped of artifice, allowing the raw cry of your heart to surge upward, unshielded by pretense. You realized that the very attacks meant to quell your spirit were in fact signals that your light had already blazed too bright to be ignored. David, too, faced adversaries who sought to demean him. Saul's jealousy attempted to silence him, but in Gideon's story, the angel declared, "Go in this might of yours, and save Israel from the hand of Midian." Judges 6 verse 14, showing that divine purpose often surfaces amid opposition. Your resistance became confirmation rather than condemnation, a sign that you were on a trajectory too potent to be contained by fear, misunderstanding, or sabotage. In that moment of awakening, you reclaimed the fragments of your voice that had been scattered and began to speak with a fierceness born of knowing that the battle itself affirmed the treasure within you. Now you stand at the threshold of this revelation, feeling the surge of clarity that comes from understanding why you were opposed. Because you are powerful. Every closed door, dismissive glance, and shattering betrayal sharpened your intuition and deepened your empathy. Your very scars testify that the forces arrayed against you recognized your potential long before you did, and in doing so, they unwittingly shaped you into a vessel worthy of the light you carry. You may still feel the tremor of those early battles in the stiffness of your shoulders or the echo of that heaviness in your chest. But know this, each ounce of pressure was an alchemical process, transforming you from unrefined or into spiritual gold. The same environments that tried to suffocate you are now the very platforms from which you will ascend. Comment thrown if you now see how your isolation and resistance forged your divine authority. And to every soul who's supported with a super thanks, thank you. You are keeping this light alive for others who haven't found it yet. If you feel called to help this mission reach more chosen ones, tap the super thanks button below. Your energy supports these messages and helps them travel further. Your voice matters, your belief matters, and your light is felt here. Why you were targeted before you knew who you were. A sudden clarity crashes through your mind like a wave breaking over a hidden reef. What once felt random now aligns into a pattern so precise it leaves you breathless. In the quiet moments when you replay childhood memories, you notice an undercurrent of tension that you could never explain. The way your earliest school reports spoke of your overthinking and daydreaming. The teacher's subtle eye rolls when you asked questions they deemed too deep. Now, as if a veil has lifted, You perceive these events not as isolated critiques but as early signs of targeting, an orchestrated response by unseen forces that sensed your spirit's frequency and moved to sabotage your unfolding. This newfound vision is neither accusatory nor fanciful. It is the dawning of awareness that something greater was at play, moving pieces on a board you once believed inconsequential. With this shift, you stand on the cusp of understanding why your path felt so beset, and for the first time, you see that the obstacles were never simply life's random cruelties, but calculated moves in a cosmic contest where your potential threatened to upend darkness itself. In that realization, a rush of emotional pressure swells in your chest, echoing the countless times you felt misunderstood, manipulated, or labeled as too much. Perhaps you recall how classmates mocked your sensitivity, how even a passing comment about the weather could send you spiraling into tears because you felt the world's sorrow acutely. You might remember the moment a family member dismissed your calling to serve or lead, telling you that your dreams were unrealistic and destined for disappointment. These instances left you feeling isolated, as if your heart carried a secret that no one else could hold. Shame became an unwelcome companion, whispering that your compassion was a liability, your questions a sign of naivety. In social circles, you learned to mask your true self beneath layers of conformity, fearing that any flicker of authenticity would provoke another attempt to dim you. Every critique was a jab meant to break your spirit, each jibe a reminder that the world preferred you silent. Yet beneath the shame and the longing, a small flame of defiance smoldered, stoked by the desire to prove that your voice belonged, and that your sensitivity was not a weakness but a divine endowment. Beneath these personal struggles, unseen structures were already converging to shape your destiny. In the wilderness of your upbringing, there were systems, curricula designed to reward compliance, family dynamics structured to favor superficial achievements, social hierarchies built on maintaining the status quo that could not bear the weight of your awakening. Like the ancient Israelites walking through a hostile wilderness before reaching the promised land, you wandered through seasons of trial where each step forward was accompanied by external resistance designed to redirect or discourage you. Exodus 16 verse 3. Teachers who trafficked in rote memorization resisted your creative inquiries, and community leaders who valued harmony over truth silenced your bold assertions. These responses were not random acts of ignorance. They were manifestations of a subterranean battle between forces that sought to preserve the world's flatness and forces that recognized in you a spark too fierce to be contained. Your struggles were not mere side effects of misaligned expectations, but pivotal encounters in a grand design that forged you into a vessel capable of piercing darkness with revelation. When the dust of hindsight settles, the patterns emerge like constellations in a night sky you once believed was empty. Recall the job you held that drained you of energy, the project managers who assigned you extra work despite your whispers that something crucial was missing, the colleagues who deflected credit for your ideas as soon as you spoke them aloud. It felt like an invisible hand shuffled your offerings into the shadows, rendering your contributions invisible. Or consider the relationships that fractured on the cusp of your breakthroughs. Friends who celebrated you only until you dared to question the world's narratives. Mentors who nodded encouragement until you sought real answers, then recoiled as if you asked a forbidden question. These were not mere coincidences but signposts placed by a deeper intelligence, cautioning you that your ascent would provoke reactions. As these patterns flicker into view, you see not a personal vendetta but a cosmic choreography. The adversary sensed in you a disturbance of their dominion and marshaled their ranks to test whether you would bend or break. You understand now that these betrayals and barriers served a purpose. They steeled your resolve and revealed the depths of your faith. Now that you stand in the aftermath of these revelations, the path ahead widens before you like a great expanse of starlit sky. You see that your earliest targeting was not an indictment of your worth but a precursor to your unveiling, a necessary storm before the sunrise. The more they tried to cage you, the more your spirit proved uncontainable. Each closed door became a portal to something larger, each betrayal a signpost guiding you toward a destiny they could not comprehend. You grasp that the forces arrayed against you are themselves markers of your importance, that if you were insignificant, they would not invest so much effort in dimming your light. In this new clarity, you discern that your purpose is not something you must forge out of raw ambition, but something you must step into, like donning an ancient armor crafted precisely for your form. This is no longer a struggle for survival, but a celebration of revelation, a triumphant recognition that you have always been chosen. Comment alert if this resonates with you. And to every soul who's supported with a super thanks, thank you. You are keeping this light alive for others who haven't found it yet. If you feel called to help this mission reach more chosen ones, tap the super thanks button below. Your energy supports these messages and helps them travel further. Your voice matters, your belief matters, and your light is felt here. Leading without permission, your role in the light lineage. A question surges through your spirit like a lightning bolt. Will you remain silent beneath the weight of expectation, or will you step into the mantle that waits for you? There is no turning back, for you stand at a sacred crossroads. Behind you lie years of uncertainty and moments when fear whispered that your path was too steep. Ahead of you, the ground trembles with the pulse of purpose. In this moment of decision, passivity dissolves and choice crystallizes. You sense the echo of a lineage that began before the cross, flowing through prophets, martyrs, and mystics who dared to speak truth. Now, their breath rests in you, urging, arise and lead. The world beyond this threshold will never be the same once you walk forward. Pause to consider how often you surrendered your time, voice, and passion to please someone else. How many mornings you crushed your yearning for authenticity beneath the heavy cloak of fitting in. Those seasons were never failures but sacred training in humility and endurance. Now, draw back every ounce of presence you released, as though you stand in an ancient hall reclaiming a throne that was carved for you long ago. Speak each phrase with intention. I reclaim my voice. I reclaim my vision. I reclaim my destiny. Let these words resound in your bones, for you are not an imposter in this story. You are heir to a throne of light that beckons you to rise. Within you burns a code older than any kingdom. What others labeled as too sensitive was, in truth, your spiritual antenna detecting hidden currents. The empathy you carried, once called a burden, is a key that unlocks hearts. The insights that seem to drown you in overthinking are, in fact, scrolls of revelation waiting to be read. You carry the flames of discernment, fire that refines rather than consumes. Your memories of inexplicable déjà vu are not glitches but markers that trace your soul's footprint across time. This armor of instinct and imagination was forged in the crucible of trials so that now, no arrow can pierce your resolve. Embrace these gifts as the sacred tools you were born to wield. Feel the earth beneath your feet. It trembles with a map only you can read. Every step you take now reveals a portion of the path that once lay hidden. In moments of decisive action, choosing compassion over comfort, speaking truth instead of silence, you produce a clarity that was never accessible through thought alone. Like Joseph standing before Pharaoh, interpreting dreams that shaped nations, Genesis 41 verses 15 to 16, you walk into situations where your presence bends reality. Your path is not forged by wandering, but by obedience. When you move, the stones shift to form new roads and the winds whisper encouragement. Each stride illuminates the next step, and what felt like aimless wandering becomes a pilgrimage of purpose. Revelation is not the conclusion, it is the summons. The world needs your voice as a clarion of hope, your compassion as a balm to wounded hearts, and your courage as a beacon to those still lost. Stand firm and embody this truth. You are the living continuation of a light that darkness once feared. Your every breath, every gesture, every word becomes a prophecy fulfilled. Now rise into your calling. Let no shadow deter you. Comment legacy if this resonates with you. Every breath becomes an invocation of healing. Every step a ritual of reclamation. Let this be your closing affirmation. You were chosen to rebuild, to restore, and to stand unshaken where others once fell. You were appointed before your first breath to carry this torch into the world's darkest spaces. Subscribe if you haven't yet, like this video, and comment I am chosen to let this message anchor in your soul. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. For full prophetic revelations daily, join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. And if this message moved you deeply, consider tapping the super thanks button to support the mission. Every super thanks fuels the light we're spreading together. Thank you to all our supporting members who keep this fire burning. Now go and ignite the world with the legacy that flows through your veins. You are the answer they never saw coming.